Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks news website. We've got another in our CEO interviews. Our constant guest is Ewan Downey because they just keep getting better and better great stuff with all their drilling. This week they announced the CRD discovery that looks quite exceptional. Ewan, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on again, Allan.
So, Ruby Hills got me excited because of Ruby Deeps originally. Thick intersections of gold right beside the pit, to the west of the pit. Then you did some drilling on your 426 zone, which gets closer to the pit, easy access. That hit thick intersections of high grade. Now you're going to the south of the pit and you hit this CRD deposit.
Yeah, Ruby Hill is really a remarkable project. We acquired the property not just because we saw gold potential there, but also because we saw a base metal or polymetallic opportunity at the property that we felt was largely overlooked by the previous operator, Homestake and Barrick, who are focused almost entirely on gold. So we think it's a property that we say in our presentation has the ultimate optionality because we have delineated a plus 5 million ounce open pit, oxide open pit deposit that we are going to start working on permitting sometime in the future. We have been defining in the 426 zone some high-grade oxide mineralization. And then as we go deeper in the 426 and into Ruby Deeps, we begin these big intercepts of high-grade sulfide material. And the sulfide material is really what we acquired the property for. But as we look at developing our multiple projects, our autoclave facility, once it's running, is expected to run at about 2,800 tons a day. That's the capacity of it. So we can only mine so much out of each deposit until that facility is running full. So the next leg up for us is either building open pits or polymetallic deposits. And if you recall, Ruby Hill has a CIL, a carbon and leach facility on site. And ever since we acquired it, we've been looking at that plant. We're actually commissioning a study right now about what will it take to convert this plant to process probably two concentrates, a lead and a zinc concentrate. So that's some work we're doing in the background, and we really see the base metal opportunity here to be a real leg up or upside opportunity in our company that's I don't think anybody really has taken a look at to date. And our first target that we drilled outside the Blackjack deposit was the Hilltop target. And, we're hitting nearly 40% lead zinc with 15 ounces per ton silver over good widths. So a pretty spectacular discovery. And we're so excited by it. We now have 3 drills on that area.
Well, it's these CRDs can get very exciting. We saw that with Arizona Mining and that Taylor Hermosa deposit got bought out in the billions. These CRDs can get very big.
Yeah, definitely. And Mag Silver is a company who's got a lot of traction on their 2 CRD deposits that they have. The one they're a minority owner of the mine, and they have another project, and they're looking for CRDs now in Utah, just across the border from Nevada. But really, when you look at the history of the Eureka district where we are, before Homestake built the Archimedes mine, the gold open pit that we just finished mining, the district was historically polymetallic, a silver, lead, zinc district, and tons of historic production in at surface mineralization. And that really, to me, is an opportunity that's been hugely overlooked. And our first target, basically our first drill hole was a good one, and the follow-up holes have been quite good. And now this stuff you can visually see, and you can expect what the grade's going to be. And we're having a lot of success in this drill program right now.
Well, it's I really stood up and took notice. Coincidentally, I've been doing some homework recently on CRD deposits, And one thing that I saw in your news release was a interpreted north-south structure, and then other secondary structures going off of that, which looks to me like the plumbing system. And then you've got this big package of permeable rock where you're now hitting the high-grade mineralization. Did I get that right?
Yeah, definitely. There's these deposits are often closely associated with intrusive complex. We know that the Blackjack deposit that we are intending to bring up to 43101 resource, utilizing the historic drilling that was done there by Barrick and Homestake, is up against what we call the graveyard stock. So it's a granodiorite intrusive, and it's more skarn type mineralization that's closely associated with, as you said, a big north-south fault structure. And then there was a couple of old drill holes. Plus, when we went through the drilling, the RC drilling that was done for the Archimedes pit, Homestake was assaying just for gold. And we noted in that area where the Hilltop discovery is that several of the RC holes that were drilled didn't assay for zinc and lead, but in the drill cuttings, it was they logged that they hit lead and zinc mineralization. So that's the area we're drilling right now. So they just ignored the fact that there was potential for CRD when they were drilling this area. And we came back and we've been having, obviously, as it started, really, really good success. And these CRD systems are often poddy and pipe-like and are pretty drill intensive. But when you combine the Blackjack deposit with Hilltop, the upper and the lower lenses that we've defined so far, and then even go about 2 kilometers to the south where the FAD deposit is owned by Paycore, that's a pretty massive corridor that has potential to host many, many CRD deposits and could be quite sizable. So to me, it's a very, very exciting target, and it's truly an opportunity for, on a gold equivalent, for us to significantly increase our annual production.
I saw a model of one of these CRDs, and it almost looked like, have you ever seen when they put concrete into an ant hill, and how it kind of spreads out, and it's got different levels to it and pipes like going through it, and it really reminded that's what I was wondering, because you sure got a large package of rock there that looks like the right kind of rock for this to happen.
Yeah, it's a big target. It's got there's lots of faulting in the area. There's lots of different layers of rock in the area, different limestone units and shales that have great potential to host different bedding. The mineralization at FAD to the south of us is in a deeper rock type than what we're drilling. So that whole column of rocks has potential for these type of deposits as you're drilling along these major structures. And what we found is we have an upper lens and the lower lens. We now think we have a bit of a mid lens developing, but the lower lens, interestingly enough, is associated at the base or close to the base of the Bullwhacker sill. And if you look to the east, or to the west, sorry, where the Holly Fault goes, that's where the Ruby Deeps deposit is. So it's associated with that same sill. So these deposits are so close together that we do envision that we will be mining both base metals and gold from the same decline, which is going to be a pretty unique scenario.
Wow, that's incredible. And from the maps that you showed on your news release that was just out a few days ago, by the way, folks, check that news release out at i-80's website. You're just sort of at the immediate south of the pit, right?
Yeah, it was when we did our compilation of the whole Ruby Hill property, we took all the historic data that we received when we acquired the property. The first phase of our work was looking at the gold data. So where are there isolated gold hits? Where are the deposits? Where do we have the potential to extend those? So we've completed that early part of that program, at least the 2022 portion. And then later in the program, we decided to test 5 generative exploration targets. And we've now drilled all 5 of those. 4 of those were Carlin type or pure gold targets that we had developed, either based on a historic single hole or just based on big structural trends that were previously untested. But one of our targets was a polymetallic target because, as I said, we do have the blackjack, zinc, lead, silver, gold deposits sitting right underneath the pit. And if you go through our corporate presentation, our website, you'll see that in orange and yellow are the gold and the base metal deposits with, workings that we've engineered, that this is a conceptual model of how we're going to develop both of those. And those have been on our website almost since day one of the acquisition. This deposit is located about 400 meters south of that. So it's a very close proximity. And it was really just going through the historic data. Like I said, there was clippings in RC holes that had sphalerite and zinc. There was a single drill hole by Homestake 1427 that intersected some pretty good grade lead, zinc, silver mineralization, and we decided that would be one of our 5 targets. And lo and behold, we now believe we're defining 2 or 3 lenses to this deposit, and it's completely open along that structure. So big upside.
Did you inherit any of the drill core?
We're looking for it. The drill core was pretty much either it's buried somewhere in Barrick's archives somewhere in Nevada, or it was dumped. There may be some on the adjacent property where we're going to have a look at some of the core that's down at the FAD project to see if any of it may be our mineralization. But it is something that has us very excited. Like I said, when we look at the autoclave facility, doing 1 million tons a year for that facility is its capacity. So without making some major modifications or adding a second autoclave vessel, our capacity per day is under 3,000 tons a day. And here we have this mill sitting at Ruby Hill that's capable of probably doing 1,500 to 2,000 tons a day that is not in our current, gold plan. So why not look at the base metals? And then with the base metals, and if you look at all the senior companies, Agnico's main mine is the Laurent mine, and it's really a VMS deposit with a gold credit. Barrick now does significant copper. So most of the major gold mining companies do have some metals diversification, and I always think that's a good idea anyway.
Absolutely, especially with the demand for everything out there these days and the weakness in supply. You brought up Paycore, and you have about 1.5 kilometers of that right looking kind of rock with the faults going through it. So is it fair to say that you've got at least 1.5 kilometers of wide open potential for your CRD?
Yeah, that on our property going to the south, there's probably, yes, at least a mile or 1.5 kilometers, pretty much untested. I was just told there is one deeper hole drilled somewhere between us and there, and apparently it hit high grade polymetallic mineralization. So I'm trying to find that drill log to confirm that. And even that structure north of Blackjack is pretty much untested. So going north is still an opportunity to define more. So really, if you look at from FAD to Blackjack, there's probably about 2.5, 3 kilometers of very prospective horizon along there that is essentially, other than that FAD or where we are, completely untested. So the upside here is pretty huge.
Wow, you could fit a pretty big system in there.
Definitely, yeah.
And your early indications are pretty encouraging. Well,
yeah,
beyond encouraging. When you hit that kind of grade, I mean, doesn't take a lot of that to make a mine.
Yeah, if you think of 1 million tons of that material, the highlight hole there, 43, on a per ton basis at today's metal prices, this obviously before recoveries, but that would be close to $1,200 per ton of rock. And that's a lot richer on a per ton basis than any of our gold deposits. So definitely is is something you can't ignore. You can't just sit there and say, oh, we're a gold company. We have this great base metal opportunity, but let's not look at it like, you know, the majors obviously did here. So we're definitely looking to capitalize on that.
Well, and if you find anything like Taylor Hermosa, it could get really exciting.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, you look at companies like Silvercrest on a, you know, a narrow, good grade polymetallic deposit, you know, their stock is, you know, quite attractive when you compare it to our market cap. So I do think just on this deposit alone, there's upside in our stock, never mind all the gold stuff we're doing.
Well, it's interesting you bring up that Silvercrest because my little company, Advanced Lithium, just acquired some ground to the north of it with a big epithermal vein going through it that's only seen a few holes and a one that's 5 kilometers and 2 kilometer wide one that's only seen one hole. So I'm glad you mentioned that. It's I think it's a pretty good area.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I've been watching what you're doing there. So looking forward to seeing how that progresses because, you know, obviously Silvercrest has been a big success in the market, and be nice to see you guys duplicate that as well.
Well, even a fraction of it, and I'd be happy. But I think it's well, we got it by selling a royalty in our Kenya project. We got this 100% interest by selling our Kenya project. So it was a pretty good deal, I think we got, and I can't wait to get drilling on it.
Good. Yeah, it's nothing like the truth machine, the drill bit to get even more excited about a project.
But the bigger point you were making about bringing up Silvercrest is that, you know, low cost production of high grade is worth a lot these days.
Yeah, definitely. And really, as a mining company, you shouldn't really care what metal you're producing as long as it makes money. The bottom line is you don't want to be going back to the shareholders every day as a mining company to keep your doors open. That's not a very successful miner. And so the mining company needs to generate as much profit as possible. And if that takes throwing in a bit of base metals or silver into the mix with your gold, bring it on.
The bottom line doesn't care where the money comes from. Well, yeah, I'm blown away by that Ruby Hill project. I mean, you know, you've got the 426 zone, you got the Ruby Deeps, now you've got this CRD, you've got an oxide deposit on it. I mean, this alone is a company maker and kind of elevates it, I think, past Granite Creek, which is no small feat. You've got thick intersections of high grade gold at Granite Creek as well.
Yeah, we're definitely have two projects that we're drilling right now that we're having a ton of success on. I wouldn't be surprised when we start to include these polymetallic deposits in our resources at Ruby Hill that ultimately our resource base exceeds well over 10 million ounces of gold. And we're already sitting at over 170 million ounces of silver. So good chance to push past 200. So definitely it's a company maker asset. It could very well replace Granite Creek as our flagship, we think. And the drill bit is continuing to make us more and more optimistic about it. But you know, don't overlook Granite Creek. We've had a very successful drill program drilling off the South Pacific zone, and there's a lot of unannounced holes. And pretty soon you'll hear an update on that. And hopefully, I'll be back on your show after that press
You
release.
definitely will, because I'm a huge fan of Granite Creek. That the old workings, then sort of in between that and South Pacific, and South Pacific is getting wider and higher grade, sort of as you go deeper. So Granite Creek's a company maker as well.
Yeah, yeah, and it sits right beside Turquoise Ridge, which isn't a bad address to have at all as well.
Exactly. Well, and then you can't sneeze at McCoy Cove, 10 grams, million ounces.
Yeah, well, 1.7 million. Yeah,
Oh,
we're the
1.7.
The decline to our first drill bay is about halfway, maybe a bit more than halfway completed. So we're on track this year to start the underground drill program there. And like you said, it's a plus 10 gram gold deposit as well. So as that program ramps up this year, that's just another project you'll start to hear news out of.
Another project that would be a company maker for a lot of companies, Ewan.
Yeah, it's we're quite fortunate to have three really solid assets, and now we're in that development phase and soon to be hopefully one of the fastest growing producers here in the market.
Okay, Ewan, before I let you go, I think that there's a couple of misconceptions about your company that, I keep hearing people, the retail investors, and even some, pretty knowledgeable people that I talk to, and they still look at it as, well, are they going to be able to process that sulfide minerals? And you guys have done a lot of, putting out information about your facility that can process that. Do you get those kind of questions as well, Ewan?
Yeah, I think it's just so unusual to see a company actually pursuing sulfides or refractory ore, especially in Nevada. And we not only have the facility that we acquired from Nevada Gold Mines, but we have an interim processing arrangement with Nevada Gold Mines to process. So we have the processing solution completed. That's why we're advancing them. And in fact, yesterday we delivered more material to Nevada Gold Mines at Twin Creeks, and they haven't started running our first part of our sample yet. And our stockpile has to get to a certain size before they start running it, but we continue to ramp up there, get that first bulk sample, so to speak, run through, and then we should be running at a regular rate of hopefully by the end of next year, ramping up to 1,000 tons per day. So processing sulfides isn't the issue. That's solved. It's just really getting our facility running so that we're not entirely reliant on Nevada Gold Mines is what
But still,
we're
that's
working
proof
towards.
of concept, right? Ewan, that you
Yep.
can take sulfide minerals and send them over to the other facility and show that, this generates money.
Yes.
And then you've got the ramp up to your own using your own facility.
Yep.
What's your feeling on the gold and how that can affect things for your valuation?
Yeah, I think what we've seen lately is gold being depressed because of a rising U.S. dollar. Following the start of the war between Russia and the U.S.,
Ukraine.
really that created an environment that I think should be hugely positive for gold. But there, as you mentioned, the rising interest rates have made the US dollar strengthen, and therefore gold has, at the same time, the prices decreased. But in many other currencies, it's at or near historic highs. So it's really in the US dollar. And with that, we've seen the whole gold sector get sold off. But the US dollar, I believe, only has so much upside with the inflation that they're seeing. There's going to be less spending on goods, so the economy is going to slow down. People can't afford houses, so the housing boom is going to slow down. There's going to be a lot of negative effects against the economy, I think, that's going to really make the US dollar start to weaken in the future. I believe it's sort of peaked out. And where are you going to go? Are you going to buy the Canadian dollar? If you look at the liberal policies here, I wouldn't be betting on the Canadian economy to be a big boomer in the future. And how the governments have handled policy as being pretty disastrous to our economy. So where do you put your dollars? Do you buy the euro? I think, if they get shut off from power, from gas this winter, I don't think Europe would be putting any more sanctions on Russia because winter's coming. So, where do you go to next? And when you look at the basket of currencies you can buy, the one thing about gold, crypto coins, you and I can make a new crypto coin. So I don't believe it's the right place to go. And gold is the oldest money. It is a currency that has no printing press. It has no political attachment, and it has no debt obligation. And what other currency can say that? So I think you need to be in the gold sector. And I think that our company is one of the fastest growing, high grade, that should be very high margin companies. So as you know, I put my money where my mouth is, and I consistently buy our own stock because I think what we're doing is world class, and one day the market's going to wake up to it.
Well, I'm definitely going to keep banging the drums, Ewan, because I see the truth machine, and the truth machine keeps on delivering for you guys. No matter which project you look at, the truth machine is proving itself for you guys. And you've got a unique situation. Most of these kind of discoveries go through a 7 to 10 year Lassonde curve development discount window. You guys can narrow that down to a matter of months.
Yeah, well, we expect to start driving the decline here late this year, early next year, probably more likely early next year, just based on timing of other things we're doing. But that'll get almost right away into the 426 deposit. But 500 meters to the south is this new discovery. So our ability to fast track the development of the deposits we're drilling right now is different than most companies, because we have permits, we have roads, we have power, we have mills, and we have tailings ponds. So we have everything we need to be successful. It's just figuring out metallurgically how our projects fit with this infrastructure, retrofitting those facilities for our needs, such as the autoclave, and then I think we'll be very successful in the future.
Awesome, Ewan. You've been really kind with your time. I want to wrap things up. If you have to run, thank you very much, and I'll just do my final spiel.
Okay, thanks a lot. I know we went a little over time here,
Yeah.
but thanks for your time, and I'll look forward to talking to you in a couple of weeks, I hope.
Got it. Thanks, Ewan. So
Yeah,
with the i-80 Gold, as Ewan explained, they've got the gold story, they've got the base metals, they've got silver, they've got near-term production. They're in Nevada. They've got all the infrastructure, all the mining capacity, all the facilities that they need. As they're building that out, they've got the ability to process material. And this is a company that I think is going to be a multi-billion-dollar company of the future, currently trading at, you look at other valuations of explorers that have one project, have valuations that are getting close or even sometimes higher than what this company has with exploration success and with near-term mining. So I think this is a top of the list pick for anybody that wants exposure to a rapidly growing mining company, and that's undervalued. And so on that note, as always, my shows are for information purposes only. It's important for you to do your homework, speak with your financial advisors. Go to i-80's website, because they've got a tremendous amount of information there. They're really good at communicating that. And I just think it's a short matter of time before more people start to see what this young company that's only been out publicly trading for a little over a year has done in 1 year, and then looking out to where they're going. As I said, I think this is a multi-billion-dollar company in the making, and you can currently buy it for well under $1 billion. So on that note, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.